Hello, everyone. Welcome to another True You podcast with me, Paula Burns, wedding planner and creative business mentor. So this is the place where we have open discussions to understand who we truly are in order to live our lives to the fullest. So I love doing these podcasts because it gives me the opportunity to connect with so many amazing business women and men. There's been a few in the podcast, but mainly it's business women. And I created these podcasts really so that more and more women can be inspired by other women who are living their lives. It's so important to me to think about who you are as an individual and how you live your life around that, because it's so easy for us to get lost in this crazy world of stuff that's going on. And so that's what the theme of these shows are all about. And I hope if you've been listening to the other podcasts that I've had and the other guests that I've had, that you've been truly inspired. But I'm just so excited about today's show. And I know she's excited as well. Probably even more excited than me, if that's even possible. But I've got a fabulous guest here today. And this lady I think we've only met once in person. She'll remind me about that. But we've only met once in person. But I know when I met her, she was just so bubbly, so open, so genuine. And I just knew that she was one of my people. I knew it. And it was just inevitable that she had to be on one of my podcasts. So I just want to get straight into it because I want all of you, my listeners, to sort of like get to know her more. So welcome, Ashleigh Welch.
Thank you. I love the one of your people things. I definitely feel like that. Like grab them in my group.
Yes, I know.
Nice.
It's so important. It is so important. And I think people don't realize how important it is to make sure that you find the people. But we'll talk about that later on anyway. But Ashleigh, as I said, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And what I want to ask is, just tell everyone who's listening, what is it that you do?
Okay, so I'm a life coach, but specifically for 100%ers. And I just want to give a little summary about what that is, because if you are one, you'll be like, oh my God, that's me. Yeah. And then if you're not, you're like, yeah, that's the complete opposite of me. So 100%ers give 100% to everything that they do. So they over deliver all the time. They're the type of person that if like you had guests round, they couldn't go to bed with the dishes out. Like they'd have to have everything put away perfect in order to go to bed. They're that type of person. So in their relationships, they're all in, they're high intensity. In their work life, they do two people's jobs in one. They're really efficient and organized. They plan loads. I've noticed they've all got a color coded planner, and they plan their free time.
Oh my goodness. That's definitely 100%ers.
Yeah, and it's a thing, it's a real thing. So and I love this personality. I see myself as 100% and I'm proud of it. But the things that sometimes they struggle with is that because we're always the one that's you spend a lot of time doing self-development, so you're always the strong one, you know, everyone assumes that you're okay, and it's kind of left to you to do things, which can get frustrating. Sometimes then causes a bit of imbalance in relationships, so you feel like, come on, you know, I'm doing everything over here, and I'd like it to be a bit more fair and a bit more appreciated and recognized for what I do. And they're that personality all the time, so then that shows up in work. So they're doing two people's jobs in one, but they're not paid for it, or they're not promoted for it. And it's that imbalance which can start to grate on them, and then it can get to the point where you question, is it me?
Yeah, and it causes a bit of resentment, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Causes resentment with other people. And if it goes on for too long, you start to question, you know, am I the problem? Like everyone else seems okay. Is it actually me? And I just want to say it's not you, and it's not them. So I help them get more balance and enjoy the relationship so much more and get what they want and deserve in work.
Yeah, what they need as well as what they're doing for other people. So it sounds 100% to
definitely.
the people who are always doing for others, always
Yeah.
busy, always like, I need to be there for everybody else and forget what their needs are, especially in what we're talking about, the concept we're talking about is who are
Yeah.
the themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when you described 100%er, I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm 100%er, maybe an 80%er.
It's funny because people always give their percentages. I'm 70%. Yeah.
It's the fact that I am always so bubbly and I'm always so, positive and whatever. And I suppose like with me, if I'm not happy, like people around me then go, well, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Why are you not?
You're not allowed to be happy. You're not allowed to be unhappy.
Allowed to be sad, or you're not allowed to be sad, or
Yeah.
they're like, well, why aren't you saying anything, or why aren't you organizing, or why aren't you always being the organizer? So it's like, well, and sometimes I just want to sit back. I just want to relax and not have to do it. And that's where I said about the resentment comes in, because you sort of internally sometimes feel that resentment because you're always the one doing everything, and you're not.
Definitely.
So that's amazing that is what you concentrate on. Because I've spoken, or I've connected to different coaches who you're so specific in the type of people that you work with, which is great, because that's one of the things that when I work with my mentees, as a business mentor, I always get them to think about their niche and how they specific about who it is that they're working with. And you're perfect for that. That's a really good niche for you. But I think you said what you do, but I think the listeners need to know, where are you, Ashleigh?
Okay, so I'm in Bogota, and which is in Colombia, and I'm definitely overdressed right now. So it's hot and cold in the day. Like, you never know what the weather's going to be like.
Really?
So I've got a classic Zoom on with smart dress and got trousers, long johns on underneath the boiling. But anyway, I'm in Bogota, in Colombia. So we've been here now for 6 weeks, maybe, but yes, about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And before that, we were in Peru. And next stop is Thailand for a couple of weeks, and then we're going to move to New Zealand for a year. We've got a couple more months of traveling, and then we're home.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so having a great time.
That's fabulous. I love the idea that you did that, and maybe we can come back to how you got to this place.
Yeah, that sounds good.
To sort of do this and where you are. So I like to sort of like, the next question is, I want to sort of take you back to your childhood, because I feel like when we live our lives, there is like a trail and there's like a journey that brings us to where we are. And, I sometimes say it shapes us, or it sparks or ignites something in us to do what we are doing in our lives. And a lot of the times, we go through life, and maybe, some of the people who are listening, you go through life and you find yourself just going through the motions, and you absolutely forget what it was that you were doing and what shaped you to be who you should be and what you should be doing in your life. So my question to you is, can you remember your childhood and tell us a little bit about that? You're only a young girl anyway, so. So I've
been thinking about this question a lot, and I was trying to think, because I was listening to your podcast about how you said you used to be shy, and I was thinking, did I ever used to be shy and now I'm loud? And I was like, no, I think I've always been loud and positive and confident for as long as I can remember.
Right.
But like everyone, there are things that have happened which were challenging at the time. Like, my parents got divorced, and I'm not anti-divorce. I think you should do that if you are unhappy. I think it's really important for children to see their parents happy, but obviously that has challenges. But I was thinking, so where did the positivity come from? And I actually link it back to my best friend in school. And I think it's so important to have somebody who you can, me and my current best friend, we call it dosing. Well, dosing is the technical term for it, but we dose all the time, which is where you can talk to somebody for anytime you want, for as much or as little time as you want, and they're just there for you
Yeah.
whatever happens.
Yeah.
And I think because I had that relationship with her, it meant that it didn't matter what was going on in the background. I always felt very strong and happy.
And how old were you when you started that process with her?
we actually hated each other in primary school, which is so funny. Like proper really didn't like each other. And we fought on separate tables, and then we joined Scouts because we were proper tomboys and became best friends.
Yeah.
And ever since that, then, you know, I could ring her at 2 a.m. crying about anything and she would be there. And yeah, we were just
an amazing relationship to have at a young age, that you decided on that.
Yeah, and we lived really close together, so we were inseparable in school. And I think having that, I think this is 100% a thing as well, because having that all or nothing, black and white thinking way, I now have that relationship with Charles, my husband, where it's absolutely, you know, obsessed with him, love him so much, talk about everything with him. And I personally think having those relationships doesn't need to come from one person, but having people that you can go to at any time for as long or as short as you need is really, really important. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
No,
yeah, so I think when it comes to childhood, I was like, what brought me to going into life coaching and doing the things that I did, even the traveling, like obviously now I'm in Colombia. When we were growing up, my parents would never want to do what I'm doing now. No way, that's not their personality at all. So I was like, where did that come from? But there are pinpoints where I'm like, okay, well, when we were in school, there was the sex education guy, Andy.
You don't have to whisper it.
Yeah, he was so good. He's brilliant. He just talked about it all openly, and I think everyone was like, "Oh my god, we're not allowed to talk about this type of stuff." But he organised a trip where we could go to Kenya to volunteer for a month, and to do that, you had to raise the money yourself to go, which I did, and I think that's what sparked the like kind of entrepreneurial side in me, because I used to go up to Morrison's. Sounds quite bad, but I used to go to Morrison's and buy like 5 donuts for £1 and then sell them for £1 in school. And I organised a under 18s like club night and sold my tickets before and then sold them again on the door.
You were always like a little bit of entrepreneur, weren't you?
Yeah. Even me and my sister set up, well, we say we set up a little cleaning business. She did not do the cleaning. She was, even when her personality was, even when we had guinea pigs as a child, she said, you obviously like the guinea pigs more than me, so you can pay me to look after my guinea pig. Like her guinea pig. And I was like, oh. So we had a little business together, but she won't mind me saying I did most of the cleaning. Yeah.
There's always something like that with siblings, you know. You know, you're doing something together, you get really excited about it, and then all of a sudden it's just you.
That's what it was like with us, which is funny. And she's like, you work too hard, which is sometimes true, but when I said about 100%ers to her, she's like, oh no, I'm not one of those. So
because it sounds like, you know, from your story as well, is that, and I think, you know, just listening to you and looking at you and your life, it about you being 100%er, I would absolutely say you're 100%er. You know, you're just somebody who was there 100%, always getting involved, always doing, always being the doer, which makes sense that you are a coach covering that, because you totally understand that.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes the other way too, because sometimes like there's obviously the good side of it, like when you're all in, you're like, right, if I'm going to raise the money, I'm going to raise it all. But then the other side of 100%er is, if you're not that into something, you want to quit. It's like, no, you know, this is not for me. And I actually quit school, like looking, it was the right decision and the wrong decision. I say in coaching there is no right decision, but I was a straight A and A-star student, and I just quit.
Really?
And set up a little business then, actually, where I went on a course to do semi-permanent eyelash extensions when they just came in, and I couldn't drive, so I get taxis to people's houses and do these semi-permanent eyelash extensions.
But how old were you when you left school then, when you quit school?
17. I was 17. So I was doing my AS levels. Yeah, I was 17. I was 17. I was thinking, had I already turned 18? Yeah, so 17. I just got full marks in my maths AS levels, and I just quit.
What made you do that? What made you do that?
Well, a lot of things at the time. There's change going on in my family, which at the time I didn't see that. I just thought, no, I want to go traveling. I want to earn money. I want to do this. But looking back, I'm like, maybe it was a bit more than what I thought at the time. But even so, I made that decision very quickly, and I didn't reflect and really think about it. I just thought, no, this is not for me. Went in and quit, and it was done.
It's interesting that you should say that things were happening in your family, because a lot of the times we make decisions based on our circumstances. So if something's happening around us, it pushes us to make quick, rush decisions because we just have to move forward. We just have to get out of the situation that we are. And as you say, that I truly don't believe there's any right or wrong decisions. The decision that you make at that time is the decision that you had to make at that time. And you felt it was the right one that you had to make. You know, a lot of people can be looking at people's lives, and we're outside looking in and going, oh, why did they do that? You know, that's a stupid thing to do. But I've always said, you cannot be, now, if anybody's listening, just to let you all know, if you're listening to this podcast, it's like stuff going on in the background. That is my dog making a noise. So you just, but yeah, if you make that decision. I've always been one of these people that, you know, never, unless you're in somebody's shoes, you can't judge them. You can never judge them for what they did, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's really important to them. I mean, you know, let them live. That is my motto in everything.
And some people share everything, and some people don't share for lots of different reasons. And it's funny, because I was actually talking about this with Charles yesterday, saying when people can be judgmental on the bad things, like, oh, you know, why did you make that decision? That was really stupid. Or it's their life's perfect and I'm so far behind that I don't have what they have. And so the judgment works kind of both ways, and both ways can be quite bad for the you being the judger. It's not pleasant for you. But actually, I was just thinking about the making the fast decisions. I wanted to just jump onto Richard, if that's okay. He's my life coach.
Okay, so you want to talk about your life coach, yeah?
So I can tell you the story about how we met, but
I think that's losing into what I was going to ask next, in terms of what has your journey been? You know, how did it all unfold? And I think you started to sort of tell us, you know, certain things that happened, and obviously we started off with your childhood, but what are some of the steps that happened to sort of get you to where you are now? Because, you know, you started now to say, when you left school, what did you do when you left school? And that all worked.
So I left school. I always worked when I was, even from like my little cleaning business with my sister. But then after that, I always had a job when I was in school. So I always wanted money. And my parents always encouraged me, I feel like, to be independent. So I paid for my own phone, contributed towards rent, even at 17, which I think is a good thing. So
I absolutely lost you then. You disappeared and you froze. That's okay, don't worry.
Should we just
go back to where you
okay, just in case, sorry about that. So I quit school. Always wanted money, always worked, had multiple jobs at a time, and then set up my little eyelash business, which for a 17-year-old made me quite a lot of money, because it was new and everyone wanted them, and managed to save up enough money to go traveling. So I went traveling on my own, when I was 18, I just turned 18 as well,
Yes.
to Southeast Asia, which was absolutely amazing. If anyone hasn't been traveling on their own, I'd really recommend it, because I think it's an important thing to do.
And do you know, it's funny you should say that, because this is something I feel like I want to do, but I've never done. And you said, you saying about traveling on your own, I feel it, it's every time I hear somebody's story about they went off traveling, or I watch a film where somebody went off traveling, like one of my favorite films is Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
Shirley Valentine and all of this. And I just get this feeling like I need to do this, but I'm still quite nervous about doing it.
Being nervous is totally normal though. Like, I get nervous still, and I'm here now with Charles. But what I would say is it is so much easier to make friends when you're on your own, because when you're with a group, whether or not that's with a partner or with other friends, you tend to think, oh, well, if you're feeling a bit tired, like, oh, we'll just stay in our room and we'll do
with them, don't you?
But when you're on your own, people who are traveling know that, oh, that person's on their own, we'll go and include them. And obviously there are highs and lows, so it's not going to be amazing every single day like paradise. There are bits when you're going to cry your eyes out because it's hard, but it's really,
that's what I worry about. See, I worry about the crying my eyes out bit.
So do I. But you will be fine. Like you will be fine, and you will love it, and it'll teach you so much about yourself. So, and you only need to go, I think, you can see a country in a month. I like to spend a long time in a country and just not planning it. We don't pre-plan our trip. We just go book the first day.
I think that's the best way as well. And I can see with you saying that you did that at an early age, this is where your bug came from in terms of where you are now. Look at you traveling now. You started at quite a young age.
Yeah, definitely. And after traveling, I came home and I lived on my own in Cardiff, and I was 18 then. And that's when I met Charles, who's my now husband. So we met, and I fell in love with him straight away. And after a year we were engaged. We went traveling. We got engaged traveling, actually, but we went traveling for 2 years and 2 months.
So you're both travelers. You're both people who love traveling, and you connect on that, don't you?
I kind of pushed him a little bit. now he loves traveling, but at the time, he's from West Wales, and I think a lot of people from Wales go, oh, I'll go to Australia and I'll go to New Zealand. And I'm like, right, we're going to do the whole thing, Charles. But we left with no money. We had £3,000 between us. I was fuming at him as well, because he spent it all on a boys' holiday just before. And we lived in a tent in Australia at the start. And then just earned the money as we went, and got married at the end in Thailand, which was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So I was only 22 then, and so we've been married for 8 years now. And then came home, and but when we came home, he had gone to uni. I hadn't gone to uni. At that time, I didn't have any real higher education qualifications. And I had work experience. I'd worked my whole time, like mainly in hospitality, but I hadn't had work experience in something that I wanted to do. So I started working for my dad for a few years, and that was a really good experience for me. And Charles trained to be a teacher. And whilst I was working for my dad, I was encouraged to go on a leadership course by one of his friends, but I couldn't get in. So the leadership course said, oh, well, there's one similar in Cardiff Metropolitan University. I'm so scared of getting caught out with this story and that they take my qualification away. Hopefully that never happens. And they said, you can come on the course, but you can't get the postgraduate certificate because you don't have enough qualifications to do it. But I went on the course, met Richard, who's my life coach, and ended up doing the essays anyway, hoping that I wouldn't get caught, and got my postgraduate certificate.
Awesome.
Which then meant that I could do the MBA. But I was so scared of that anyone would figure it out that I did I went for the interview for the MBA, and the woman who had told me, you come on the course but you can't get the postgraduate certificate, I hadn't seen her then for the rest of the course.
course,
And
yeah.
when I was signing up to do the MBA, I was like 23, I think. So would have been like, it was an executive MBA. So people were a lot older than me on the course. And the guy who was signing me up took me to the woman who had said, oh, you can do the course, but you can't get the postgraduate certificate. So, oh, this is Ashleigh Welch. She's going to do the MBA in record time. And I was like, oh my God, no, you're going to find out.
I couldn't do it.
But she was really supportive and just said, you know, go for it. And I did. And I got a distinction. So I was really...
That is hugely, honestly, Ashleigh, sorry to cut you there, but that is hugely inspirational in terms of you took the steps anyway. So you knew you wanted to do something, and you were told that you probably couldn't do it in its entirety, but you thought, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to take the first steps and then see where it leads me. If you didn't take those first steps, you wouldn't have got the qualifications that you got, but you also wouldn't have met your life coach that you now met.
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't have.
And things like that, it just gives me goosebumps, because I hear people's stories and I think, you've got to take the steps. You've got to take the steps, because
and it's normal to
know what could happen. Yeah.
And if it feels really uncomfortable and you're crying and you're nervous, then that's normal.
Yeah, so exactly. And what if it doesn't work out? Fair enough, it doesn't work out, but at least there's nothing worse than regrets. Nothing worse than regrets. You know, if you really feel moved to do something, you need to get up and you need to start taking the steps. Even if you can't even see the clear path that you need to go on, once you start walking, it'll all become a bit clearer.
Yeah,
you know? That's what I always say. So I totally applaud you for doing that, because that has been such a huge integral part of your journey in terms of
I am really proud of that word. I try and drop it in as much as I can. I know you're supposed to be I did a post the other day on Instagram about praising yourself, because a lot of people find that quite awkward. I love self-praise. I did it.
I do now, but I totally understand, like, you know, when I do my mentoring as well, and I talk to my clients, and they're like, you know, when I ask them what's unique about you and what's special and great about you, they can never, and this is so typical of a lot of us, is that you can't think of what's great about you. You ask what the negative things are, what you're not so good at, whatever, we can reel off this long list of stuff, but we just don't want to praise ourselves at all, and why should we not? We've worked hard for where we are.
And I think that's really normal as well. And I don't want to sound like somebody that's just selling coaching, because it's not. I'm not trying to sign people up to say to me, but just in general about coaching, I think that unconditional love piece for me has come from coaching. Like I met Richard when I was 22. This was a pivotal moment for me. So I went to go. So I was just going to detract and tell you about it. So I had a bit of a crossroads. I didn't know what I wanted to be doing in work. Feeling a bit sorry for myself. And Richard asked me some challenging questions, and I was crying in the university. And then I said, I was like, I need you to coach me just in my life. I need you to be my life coach. I didn't even know that it was a thing. And he wasn't a life coach. He was an executive business coach. So okay, you know, let's see if we can make this work. And at my first session with him, I was talking about how I'd had this blazing row with Charles, and I was getting really hot-headed and didn't want to be like that anymore. And I was being really nasty about myself. Like, this is wrong with me. I'm stupid. I should not be doing this, and being not very nice. And he just kind of said, what's the big deal? Like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You're completely human. Like, you want to change something, let's change it. And having that for the first time, thinking, oh my God, so there is nothing wrong with me. And I am still a good person. I can make mistakes and still be a good person. That was the change. So, and then after working with him for 8 years, you know, it's really ingrained now in my personality that you can be happy by yourself.
And it's understanding that we're all human. We all have our own individual personalities and our own feelings, you know, and experiences that we go through. So yeah, that thing about beating ourselves up because of how we feel about something, and somebody else might not feel the same way. And so we think, well, why am I feeling like this then?
Yeah, what's wrong with me?
But there isn't, you know, anyone who's listening to this now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, you know, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do what everybody else is doing? You can't do what everybody else is doing because you were meant to be you. You were meant to do what you should be doing. And so the most important thing for you to do as an individual is to understand, what is it that I need to be doing? Who am I as an individual? Who, you know, who is the true me, you know, and how can I get out there and do the things and live my life the way I should be living it, you know, and the way that I want to be living it, not should be, but how I want to be living my life.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So you got to deciding quickly, if we talk about, you know, at what point then did you decide you wanted to be a life coach?
Okay. Sorry about my cough. So I was self-employed from I think 24, and I was giving small businesses, and then it ended up being some quite big businesses, management accounts, and helping them. It kind of between, I wasn't so I was doing bookkeeping, but I was nearly an accountant, but I wasn't an accountant. My accountant Barry actually says you get an accountant for a bookkeeper's rate, which I like that. But that was when the first time where I felt like, oh, I'm doing something just because I've done it I know what I'm doing. I've done this for a while, and what's it called? You just like going with the flow, just rinse and repeat type of thing.
Yeah.
But it was nice to have a bit, for it to be easy, especially after studying. And me and Charles were kind of finding our feet and building our savings and moving into a house.
I like that. I like the fact that you said it's nice to have it easy sometimes, because we don't always have to be on the go 24/7. You know, it's like finding that nice sort of like, oh my gosh, I can breathe and I can live and whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy life.
Hard for 100%ers, because when you're not doing like, what's wrong with me?
I know, maybe I should be creating some huge thing, you know, maybe doing a big launch on whatever, and why am I just meandering along? Because we all need those down times. We all need the times when we're just, you know, sailing along and just enjoying the process. And to be honest, I'm a big believer in the fact that, you know, and especially when you get to my age, I think, you know, I'm a lot older than you, but when you get to my age, I feel like, you know, I just want to be sailing along, but also doing the stuff that inspires me. So, you know, so I want to have that ebb and flow. So, and I call it light and shade sometimes, you know, sort of light and shade. So it's like, you know, those things, the exciting things happening in my life, my personal life, then there's the things for work, and then there's just the fun stuff, and then there's that, you know, I want all the different things happening, and I'm very aware of the stuff that I like to have in my life. And so I think about how I can create that mix. You know,
I look at your life and I think, oh, you're having a great time. You always look like you're having a great time.
Oh, do you know what? I really am now.
And you have amazing friends, like you know, personally, Nikki and Stephanie, who are amazing. Nikki and Stephanie Taylor. But I look at your social media and like the heels empowerment thing. That looks so
much
good.
fun. So much fun. We booked a 4-week session next year in January, so that we can learn a full-on routine. So we're just so excited about it. But yeah, it's like something, and again, when I was talking about your childhood and what you liked, like when I was younger, I loved performing, you know, and I was in more shows in school and all of that, and that's where all my singing started in church. But then, you know, when I was in school, then I started to do shows and musicals, and I have such a love for musicals. I love going to see them now. But you know, it's that all of that, and the performing side of me is there. Like I did TikTok recently, so I could just do all the performing things, and so yeah, with the heels empowerment, I think Nikki found out about it, and I thought, let's go. So just went. But so much fun.
Nikki, I find really inspirational. So she pushed me, and well, not pushed me, encouraged me into life coaching. So after doing doing my own business for a while, 4 years or so, and then lockdown happened, and that was the first time that I really felt sad, like properly sad. Like if my whole life, things have happened during my life, like everyone, you know, you have highs and lows, but I never felt like properly sad, and it just hit me. So the summer of lockdown I loved, but Charles found that a lot more challenging than me. So it was like I was there for him at the start and got him through that bit, and then he was feeling a lot better in the winter, and also his teacher, so children went back to school. It's all around that time, and I was just very lonely, and it was the first time that I got really, really sad. And I meet with Nikki once a month, and she was she was part of the life coach school and being coached. So, what is this life coach school thing? Because obviously I've had life coaching. She said, she's, you know, it's with Brooke Castillo, she's amazing, have a look at it. And then I could see that they did coach training. What's that coach training thing? Because I just find those two so inspirational. Like, I watched them, and they really set an example. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They are amazing. And I spoke to Nikki about coach training, and it was a big investment. Okay, am I going to do it?
You've got to breathe, haven't you? Whenever you take those big those big steps, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to pay all this money out. But
I've been quite used to sharing money with Charles, because obviously we've been married for a long time, and our money, it was all based on percentages, all very fair. And I thought, oh my God, I'm about to pay a lot of money for something. Is this okay? I cry my eyes out with happiness when I booked it, and he was really, really supportive the whole way. So you have to do this. It's your calling. So signed up to, first of all, to be coached in the life coach school, and then to train as a coach. And obviously that has its highs and lows too, because at the start I was like, this is my calling, people just come to me, I'm really good at this. And then when it like naturally drops off, I was like, I'm rubbish at this. What have I done?
We quit to do that. We quit to do that. It's like, oh yeah, we're great. No, we're not.
yeah. And even through being coached, that obviously helps so much when you're having those highs and lows, having somebody to talk to that doesn't have an agenda. So I keep dropping all the coaching things. It's just changed my life so much.
Well, that's who you are about. And I think, you know, when I do these podcasts, it's about, you know, people can understand that, you know, your life is about coaching. So of course you're going to share that. You're going to sort of like share the whole thing about, you're really passionate about something that you do. And so people who are listening, you know, maybe they're thinking about, well, what am I really passionate about? But what really lights me up? And to listen to your story, it's sort of like helps them feel more sort of excited about maybe what they can think about for their lives and things like that. So don't apologize for the fact that you love what it is that you do, because and
not just for me, like for it being my job, but for it being the way it's changed my life. Like I think people have there is a lot of stigma around going to see a therapist, going to see a coach. A lot of people see that as, there must be something wrong. And I'm like, no, it's not like that at all, because you could have, like, one of my proudest things I said about being proud about the MBA, but it is my marriage with Charles. Like, I honestly think it's the luscious, I love him so much. And I've been coached on my marriage with Charles for years, and I think it just makes it better and better and better. So it doesn't need to be this sad. It can, if you're feeling stuck, going to speak to someone, it's really helpful. But also, if you look at your life and you think, this is amazing and I want to keep it that way, then it's a really positive thing to do for yourself.
And how can you keep it that way? So if life is great, it's about how can you continue to keep it at that level, not waiting until things are going wrong or whatever, and then you think, all right, I'm going to try and find somebody to put it all back together again.
Exactly.
So it's funny that you should say, you look at my social media and think I'm having so much fun and everything. I look at your social media and I think, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing and all that travel. And because I know that's something in me that I really need to do. And I just love to sort of see all your pictures and all your experiences and all of that type of thing. I want to move on to asking you, did you feel at any stage that you lost your way? So throughout your life, when you were sort of like moving through all these different stages that you've just, described, did you come to a place, and you might have touched on it with COVID and stuff like that, but I don't know, did you come to a place where you thought, you sort of all of a sudden woke up and thought, do you know what, I really don't feel like I'm where I should be and I need to start making another move?
Definitely in COVID, that felt really strong though, and it was obvious. And Charles could be so embarrassed about the amount of time I've spoken about him.
Go on, chat about him. It's so nice when you've met somebody who is your soulmate and somebody that is just your person.
But he did not know what to do because he hadn't seen me sad. He was like, "Oh my god, what's happening here?" Yeah, this isn't normal. Because normally, I'd cry and I'd find something hard, have a good cry, and then message and be like, "Oh, I'm fine now."
Yeah, that's what I like. That's what I like. Yeah.
So when you're down for quite a long time, it's like, whoa, this is really telling me something. So that was definitely then. And then there have been times before, but usually it feels like coincidence, but it's obviously not. But you meet somebody and it feels like you've lost your way. Like when I come home from traveling, I was like, I'm not sure when I came back from being on my own, my own experience traveling, and that's when I met Charles. And also I had Hannah when I was in school, and there have been people in my life. Even now, I was starting to write a list. I have a list of the people that have changed my life, but it's too long. I can't talk about how many there are.
I love that.
It's important to have people around you that you can go to and that pick it up in you as well. They can sense. Like I remember going for a walk with, we call ourselves the Curly Wheelies. I'm not going to say their age, but they're older than me. And we went for a walk in Roath Park, and I thought I was fine. Like I didn't think that they would have sensed that I was not happy. And afterwards, they messaged me and they're like, "Ashleigh, you're not yourself. What's going on?"
They can see it.
And you got to listen to those signs sometimes. And maybe you can't see it at the time, but you reflect on it after. You're like, "Oh yeah, maybe that was when I was feeling a bit lost, and now I'm not there anymore."
The fact that you said there's so many people that touched your life and have helped you. I can think of all the different instances in my life where that person made a difference, and then because that person came into my life, they made a difference, and that person, I could write them all down as well, like you. And it is, and it's only because I've continued to keep moving. And this is something that again I express to my mentees, when I'm talking to them, is you've got to just keep moving, because your people will show up. The person who's going to help you and sort of get you and whatever, they're going to show up along the way. But you just keep moving, keep making those steps, like I've said before, and they show up. And because people are out there and they're willing to help you. People are
definitely willing to help you. It's a fine one, because I was thinking about the balance of vulnerability and asking for help, because sometimes when you ask for help and it doesn't go to plan, because some people, it's not that they're a bad person, but they just don't know what to do in a situation. And then there are other times when you share the fact that you're feeling a bit vulnerable and you feel that you need a bit of help, and the right person's there. And it's just, and the more you try that, the more you try and think, oh well, I'm feeling a bit lost, maybe I'll just open up a little bit to this person, and then a door opens and another door opens. The bit I've been thinking about this after listening to your podcast so much is that your life can change so fast. So when you're in a dark place or you're unhappy and you think, oh, it's over, it's never going to change, this is it, it's like it's done. Sometimes within a space of just a year, your life can look so different.
Not even a year, in a couple of weeks and a month. It's like, oh my gosh, I never believed that this was going to happen in my life. So honestly,
but I seriously think about when I say, because I say to people, you know, if you're in a relationship, you should bring up if you're not happy with something. And I'm quite dramatic. And I'll say to Charles, I'm not happy. I've been sad about this for ages. I'm really, really down. We need to change it. He's like, how long have you been sad about this? I'm like, 2 days.
Yeah.
and then we're fine. Yeah. But your life can change really fast. And you might not be able to see it when you're in it, but it's just always knowing, well, it is possible if I just take one more step, just like you said.
Absolutely, just one more. Right, Ashleigh, I want to ask you about how scary has it been in terms of, you know, moving throughout your life the way you have, because it's not conventional at all. And I'm sure that you've had instances where society has been, or people have been around you saying, what the hell are you doing? You know, why aren't you settling down? Why aren't you sort of living a life like everybody else? And I think that whole expression settling down is overrated. I remember somebody saying that to me at a really early stage, when I was, because I used to be in a band and I absolutely loved it. And we were, you know, doing shows, and we were, you know, there was so much exciting things happening. And I remember saying this to someone and explaining, you know, all this exciting stuff that was going on. And she was like, oh yeah, it all sounds good, but when are you going to settle down? And I was like, what?
What do you mean?
That time, I think I was in my like mid-20s, coming up maybe sort of like 26, 27, something like that. And I thought, I'm having such an amazing time. I was learning so much about myself, because I'd been such a quiet child and a quiet person. Even when I grew up, I was, you wouldn't say boo to a goose. And yet, you know, throughout that time being in the band, I learned to sort of grow my confidence and, you know, who I was as an individual. And so I learned so much over that time, and having such a great time. And for her to say, oh, when are you going to settle down? And that was because she was thinking about what society expects of you.
You
know, when are you going to find yourself a boyfriend, and you're going to get married and then have children, and then, you know, and why? Why? I'm not totally against, obviously I'm not against, you know, having somebody in your life and somebody special, because I think that is so important. But it's about living your life, you know. It's totally about living. So when I ask you, did you have like people who were sort of like saying things to you about
obviously I got married really young. I still can't believe we did that, but it's all worked out really well, so it's fine. But loads of times I've had, like, when I left school, teachers were obviously quite a bit worried about that, like, what are you doing leaving? And then family sometimes, I think when I was younger, they definitely thought it more like, oh, what's she doing? This is doing a good idea. But I think now they trust, oh, she'll figure it out. But I've always kind of known that. Like, obviously I have wobbles, massive wobbles, from time to time. But I do trust I'll figure it out. And I know it doesn't take that long to change something. So when we came home from traveling, Charles and I, the first time round, we had spent our money on traveling and then our wedding, and we came back and we had no real qualifications, no job, no money. And within a couple of years, you know, we were all set up, and it was like, whoa, that happened really fast. And then we did that. We were living a conventional life for a bit, and that's when everyone was asking, when are you gonna have children, when are you gonna get a dog, and that. But I always kind of knew, I hoped that we would go away again, but Charles wasn't so sure. But when lockdown happened, he's like, we have to do this, it'll be a good opportunity. But even this time round, they haven't had so much judgment because I think our family know that we'll figure it out and that we'll make it happen and it'll be fine, because they've got the evidence of it.
Exactly.
But definitely people do question, like, are you gonna miss your chance?
And it's it's your chance in their eyes, not in yours.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
the thing.
That's so true. Like I think with when you're there's always the whole right or wrong decision thing is that you might be with the right mindset. Yes, you might be sacrificing something else, but if you make what you're doing right for you and you honor your own decision and you enjoy it, then it's not wrong. You're not missing out. But if you allow, which is very easy, it's very normal and easy to allow other people's opinions to condition you, because that's normal. That does happen.
It is. And this is the whole point of this podcast, is to understand who you are, your true personality, the true you, not what everybody else is saying, what feels comfortable for you. Because what feels comfortable for you is inevitably not always going to feel comfortable in society. So, some people, but that's why it's important for you to find the people that understand who you are, if you surround yourself with those types of people. But that's like going on to something else as well. But yeah, I love this conversation with you. Actually, it's absolutely great. I think we've sort of like traveled through the various situations that has happened in your life to bring you where you are. And I want to sort of bring this whole discussion to a close with some quick fire questions.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't want the conversation down. I'm having a lush time.
No, it's great. So, do you understand what makes you truly happy? And there is no right or wrong answer with any of these questions. This is about you. Do you understand what makes you truly happy?
Yes, I think I've known for a long time, but yes, I used to have a list. Well, the list is still there. But spending time with Charles, like quality time with him, spending time in the sun. Like, I'm a bit freaky about the sun. I have to have the sun in my life. I get really stressed when I'm not in it. And my friends and family, but it's to do with the connection. So I'm all about the people that I meet. Having a connection with someone is so important. I used to listen to TED Talks about what's the meaning of happiness, and when people, just before somebody dies, what was it that made them happy? And it's always about connection. And I think for me anyway, that's what's important to me. And knowing that means that I had a chat to Charles when we first came out here. It's like, it's really comforting knowing that I still feel that way. It's still about being with you is what makes me happy, and meeting people and connecting with them is what makes me happy.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so me. Connections is so important.
And then they're the bits that you remember. Like, you could pay like when we're away, some people go, like, we did some volunteering experiences. They were hard. Really hard. I said, Charles, I'm too old for this now. But because we did it in the mountains and it was freezing cold. And it was a good experience, but it was very basic, mud floor, no blankets, no bedding. And
that's definitely not me.
that was hard. But we really connected with the family. And then you look back and you think, oh, that was the best bit of the trip. And it's not the sights are obviously amazing and the meals are amazing, but it's the people. It's always the people.
I'm so I sometimes say it's like I'm really nosy, but I just love to find out about people's lives and their experiences and all of that, because that's what connects you even more as well. So yeah, I love it. So what makes you happy. How are you at getting still to feel emotion? So when I say that, it's about, being in the moment and understanding when something doesn't feel right, or if it feels absolutely amazing, before it gets to the point, especially if you're in a situation where you find yourself, oh my gosh, how did I get here? Because, and I didn't even realize that this was happening. I mean, so how are you in terms of realizing that at an early stage?
Definitely getting better. So being present and happy, all the positive emotions, I feel like I'm good with them. They feel quite easy, and I like to talk about it out loud. Like, if I'm enjoying myself or if I'm proud of myself, I will say it. But negative emotions like feeling sad or feeling anxious or feeling lost was definitely something I had to work on, and that was that surfaced in lockdown. So when I heard about people feeling anxious, I used to always think, oh, I never feel anxious, but it's because I was suppressing it, and in order not to feel it, I'd get up in the morning, get up at 6, exercise, be productive all day, just not allowing myself to feel anything negative. And as soon as restrictions lifted, I went to go and see Richard. I was crying my eyes out. I was like, why is this happening now? This is what I've been waiting for, you know, life to return to normal, and now I'm a mess. And he taught me that I'd been suppressing it. And then training with the life coach school and being coached with the life coach school taught me about feeling your emotions. And ever since I've realized, I'm obviously still working on it, but now I realize how important it is to feel your emotions. They will then pass, but if you don't feel them, they'll just stay in you, and then that's when you have a burnout or
don't know how to handle it. You know what, though? It's funny that you should say that, because this year, my word for this year is stillness. That was my year, my word for 2022 is, and it was exactly the same that you've just described. Is the fact that I felt like I had to give myself time to be still, to feel the emotion and feel what's going on, and feel something if it's sad, feel something if it's happy, and just be still in that moment.
What was your word for the previous year? I love words of the year.
Oh my gosh, what was my year for my word for the previous year?
And for next year.
I can't think what it is.
or next year, because you've only got a few days to decide.
We've got a couple of weeks before next year. It's got to be something about being brave. It's got to be something nice. Because I feel like
you got to go traveling then.
Yes, I think that's why my word is going to be something around that, because I'm feeling it so much that I've got to do something about it. So I want to take those steps. So but yeah.
You can do it. You're gonna have the best time, and it's your personality. You're so good at connecting with people. You'd have the best time ever.
I know. I'm gonna have to go somewhere not too far to start off with, and just like pace myself. Right. My next question is going to be to you is, have you found your tribe?
Yes. Yeah, I found them, and they're all different ages, and I love that. So some of my best friends are in their late 50s. And I love them so much. We keep in contact all the time. And then obviously some of my best friends are the same age as me, and haven't got many people younger than me, but they're not necessarily the same, but they're my people. And having them in my life, it makes you really emotional. Like for my birthday, it's my 30th birthday on Monday, and you get messages, and I just felt really like I've got it. I've got the people that I want in my life and that I need. So never judge a book by its cover. And just because somebody, I think the having friends of different ages, I absolutely love that.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Why would you just have friends of your age? You know, if you've got friends who have lived life in different times, they're going to have experiences.
With the curly whirlies, it's funny because neither of them drink, and they come round and we just chat all night, and they both burst into song. I wish I could sing. They both burst into song, and they're in my house until like 2 a.m. And I have to say, girls, I've got work in the morning, we have to go. But we just have the best time. It's lush. It doesn't matter that there's an age difference.
Yeah, that's really good. Are you missing them now you're away? Or?
Yeah, we've been messaging quite a lot actually recently. We love our voice notes.
Oh, do you have like online sessions? You need to have online sessions.
Yeah, we should. We did it in lockdown. I got another friend, and I spoke to him yesterday. I was like, I'm going to be on a podcast and I might name drop you. But his name's Andrew, and we always send each other videos of saying you'd like it here and wherever we are. Like sometimes it gets a little bit mean. But we're videoing each other all the time, and it hasn't really. Same with the friend that we WhatsApp voice on each other. With most of the relationships, it hasn't really changed that we're away, because I think once you've got once you've got your people, they're your people.
Yeah, they're your people. They got your back. They've always got your back. And it doesn't matter. And it feels so comfortable. I know that if I'm feeling low at any time, I can always connect with one of my people, and they're just going to bring me up again.
Yeah, they know what you need.
Yes, they just know what I need. And I don't even have to say that I'm feeling low. I just like, I'm just feeling so good after I've spoken to them or connected with them. Final question, Ashleigh.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on.
That's absolutely fine. I'm sure everyone listening can feel the energy that's coming from you in this. So, final question is: do you love yourself unconditionally?
I actually do. I know that might, for some people, they might think, oh, I can't believe you should have said that, but I do.
Honestly, I love the question. It's a true question, because loving yourself unconditionally doesn't mean you're perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You love who you are as an individual. I love myself. It took me a long time to get here. It took me such a long time to get to where I am, not loving myself. But yeah, so you tell me about you.
I wanted to ask you about you, because it's funny when you look at somebody and you think, how weren't you able to love yourself? I just find that amazing.
Because I had so much, my confidence levels were so low, and
I'm so confident now.
Yeah,
I love the microphone story, by the way. I was listening to that on the podcast.
Sorry, what was that?
Your microphone story, that when you were nervous.
Yes, I picked up the stuff. I knew what it was that made me less nervous, and everybody's got that thing who they think, oh, well, what is it that if I do this, I don't feel as nervous as I and I just picked up on that when I went out singing, and I found a way. But it was just a step. It didn't happen overnight, honestly. And I still feel like I'm still a quiet person inside, because I call myself an introvert extrovert now. So I know to put myself out of my comfort zone. I know that if I step out of my comfort zone, things happen. And that's why I feel like I can mentor people in that way, because a lot of my mentees are people who just have such low confidence, and they feel like they look at me and sort of say, oh my God, you're so confident. How are you? I could never be like you. But they don't realize that it was a journey for me to be where I am at this point. I grew up, I think, with your childhood. And again, when we talked about childhood, I grew up in my sister's shadow. So I was a middle child. My sister was very popular. She was a pretty one. She was slim. She was like always out going with her friends and whatever. And I always felt like I was like the one in her shadow. And that sort of happens as you're growing up. There's different things that happen to you as you're younger. And again, I was really sort of shy. So my mum wouldn't leave me with anyone. I cried all the time, and all of that. And even as I was growing up, I just spent so much time in my own company with books, and and that's where my creativity came from. So I feel, for me, the first steps of me getting my confidence is when I started to work full time, and I watched other people get promotion and move on with their lives and stuff like that. And I just struggled because I was so quiet, and I thought to myself, they weren't any better than me.
When you have that realization.
Yeah, that's when I first had it. And I thought their abilities probably were worse than mine. I was a lot better than they were, but because they were able to articulate themselves more, and they were confident, and they put themselves out there, everyone thought they were absolutely amazing, and they just railroaded past me. And it was a slow process for me, where I realized that I've got to start sticking up for myself. I've got to start holding on to, or realizing the things that are great about me, and just owning those things. That's one of the things I do when I talk, go and talk to young people now as well, as I say, what is it that's fantastic about you? And once you find out what that is, own it. Own that thing.
I'm sorry, I keep going to interrupt you. I just get overexcited all the time. But when you're saying people look at you and think, oh, but you're so confident. You are confident, but you have this you're so good with people. So if anyone is thinking about being mentored by you, I'd say you have to meet, because you are confident, but you're really warm, and you can sense that you're that person that can make people feel like you're at their level in a good way. You're amazing at that. So you might seem confident, and you are confident, but you've got the social skills.
And I feel and I don't know where that's come from, Ashleigh. I really don't, but I just feel like I am a people person.
Fully.
I'm just somebody who just connects with, and when they speak, I'm really listening to them. I want to understand where they're coming from, so that I can help move them forward. And it's just something that's part of me, really. You know, I feel like I feel people. I really
that's what you feel people. And as soon as we met, you know the people that are listening, even though I interrupt all the time, I'm listening. And then you get the people that are just, Tony Robbins does it, and he says, can you feel that? I know a lot of people aren't bonded. Some people are and some people aren't, but you have that ability to, it's like an emotional connection. So you may be confident, but even if someone's nervous, as soon as they meet you, they'd feel totally relaxed. You're amazing at that.
Oh, thank you. And I've heard, and people have said that to me as well, which is why, you know, and I've come to accept it now, because I've had that feedback from people where they just say, once we've connected with you, we just want to work with you. We love your vibe, we love your energy. And you know, that's me. I'm owning it. That's
you should own it.
That's who I am. But I love the fact that you are 100% love yourself unconditionally. We're twins there, because we love ourselves.
It takes work though. Like people might think, if you think that sounds cocky, then I'd question, like, why? You know, what is it that makes you feel uncomfortable about not loving yourself? Because something I try and say to people all the time is, your ability to love yourself does not take away from your ability to love other people. I think it makes you be able to love unconditionally more. So if you do want to love yourself more unconditionally more, then like lean into it. Speak to Paula.
Send them my way. Oh, Ashleigh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. I am sure that everyone who's been listening has got something that they can take away from this conversation, and I hope they've been as inspired as I have been. So thank you so much.
I feel exactly the same right back at you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And to everyone who is listening, I will be back again next week with another fabulous guest. But in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye, everyone.